Hey, what's up, everybody? John Scott here for WrestleLine, and really pleased to say on the show for the first time is none other than Sam Defrain. How you doing, Sam?
I'm good. Yourself, John?
I'm not too bad, not too bad. I know off there we were talking about our, obviously, the current situation, which we're all in, including all my listeners. You know, everyone around the world is affected by this, and we were just talking about how we'd been doing. And I think it's fair to say, as a wrestler yourself, Sam, like most of my other guests, it's probably got to be a bit of an itch to get back into the ring as soon as possible. But obviously, you haven't been in the ring for a while. How has that been from a standpoint of a wrestler and like keeping up like with training and stuff like that? Have you managed to sort of adapt as it be with the situation we're in?
I've adapted quite well, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But I've got the garage with all the weights and stuff in it anyway. So
oh, nice.
Been training, doing all that, doing all my cardiovascular work, my road work, got all the bits and bobs at home, just doing all my home training and stuff like that. I mean, it's not the same as being in the ring. Obviously, that's an itch that won't be scratched until this is all over, but it'll be good to get back in the ring. You know, there was a lot of prospects coming up before this happened, and obviously a lot of them have been put on hiatus, but yeah, definitely craving to get back into the ring.
Yeah, absolutely. And how, like, before all this obviously came about, how did you how many plans have sort of gone out the window? Because obviously, for people that don't know, we know you also run your own promotion as well in Triumph Wrestling with two others who we've had on the show as well, Taylor Essex and Jack Torino. But how much has been affected by all this on your side of things, both as a wrestler and a promoter?
Well, we had to cancel 2 shows for Triumph, which obviously that was a bit of a kick in the lower regions of below the belt. I mean, it was good on a financial side because luckily we didn't plough too much money into the actual promotion.
Right.
So we haven't really lost too much for that, but obviously it's nice to keep the shows regular. Obviously, I was due to fight Taylor Essex for the DKW.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that, actually.
And that was a match I was really looking forward to. And the sort of last match I had before the lockdown was against Devilman for Genesis promotion. And obviously I wanted to sort of see if he was okay because he suffered a bit of a concussion after the match.
Right.
And, obviously when lockdown came in, I couldn't sort of go around and say, are you okay? How you doing? So all I could do was really Facebook message him, but he's fine and all that. Yeah. A few other matches and plans that I was really anxious to sort of get fired up. You know, I was hitting the gym pretty hard, you know, really sort of putting myself out there. I started training a lot more with muscle wrestling, and I was looking forward to sort of getting more involved with them as well. See, that's all just been put on hiatus for now. And then obviously when things do sort of kick back in, it'll be interesting to see how many people will be back and how many new faces we're going to see as a result. So it could shake things up because I think a lot of promotions are going to start changing their stories and a lot of promotions are going to start mixing things up. And I think we're going to see a lot of new faces and we're going to see a lot more interesting matches as a result.
Yeah, and also I said this like a couple of podcasts ago. People were asking me, you know, how did I think the British wrestling scene would be affected when it comes all out? You know, will there be a bit of a downslide? But I actually think there'll be such a big demand for it when it was sort of given the okay. I'm not talking about straight off the bat because there will be a little bit of a nervousness to go into crowds again. But I think give it a bit of time. There's going to be high demand to go back and watch wrestling again in general, just because you can do it. So I think that on that side of things, I know a few wrestlers I've spoke to have been a little bit worried about it might drop off, and there might not be the demands that there was before this happened. But I kind of think it'll have the opposite effect. You know, I think, providing the timing is all good and correct. Obviously, Sam, for those people that don't know how you got started and stuff, give us a little bit of a brief background about, you know, growing up and obviously, like as a fan of wrestling, what was you a fan to begin with? I suppose I should ask. And secondly, how did you wind up getting into it?
Cool. I was definitely a fan as a kid growing up. So I used to watch because I'm a little bit more seasoned than some of the other wrestlers at the moment.
Right.
So I was around sort of during the Ultimate Warrior period.
Nice. Yeah.
And I grew up watching Warrior, Macho Man, Randy Savage, Hogan. And this was the point when Hogan had just sort of defected off to WCW. So I was a big WCW fan, NWA.
Right.
But my favourite wrestler growing up, ironically, was The Rock.
Right.
You know, I was a big Rock fan. Absolutely loved The Rock. So there's lots of baby pictures of me. I taught myself how to do The Rock's eyebrow, and I'm always sneaking photos. And when I cut a promo, I might sneak in a slight one just as a little hug for The Rock. But yeah, it got me really interested in it, and I was always a big kid anyway. I was always at school. I'm 6'3". I'm a pretty big guy, so it just seemed natural to go into a field that catered to that. And my father was already an amateur bodybuilder, so he got me interested in weight training, bodybuilding, and that side of things. I was very anxious to sort of pick things up and throw it around. So wrestling, it seemed like a natural fit for me. So I looked up on the internet. That was the old MSN days.
Yeah, I remember them. I remember the AOL days.
Oh, yeah, AOL.
Someone the other day, they didn't even know what AOL was, and I felt so old. I was like, oh, my God. And they were like, dial-up, what was that? I was like, mate, you haven't lived until you experienced dial-up and a phone call come through at the same time. You'd be cut off.
Yeah, you couldn't use the phone and the internet at the same time.
That's right. It was a nightmare.
It used to be timed on the people's data nowadays used to be timed on the internet, and you get billed. So
that's it. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
I've even forgot about that. I forgot the fact that I could only use it after 6 o'clock and on weekends, because it was like the non-prime like part of the day to use it. Everything else you'd have to it would whack your payment up.
That's right. Yeah,
nightmare. How times have changed. Yes, sorry, I just had brief flashbacks then.
It's good to reminisce.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I looked up and I found a school in Chatham, and was pretty close to where I lived, which was Gravesend. And the school was the NWA Hammerlock.
Yep.
And so I went along there, and they had it in an old kickboxing gym just above near the Pentagon shopping centre there.
Right.
And the guy that was teaching the class was John Ryan. And there I met a few quite well-known faces now, like very young Zack Sabre Jr., Jimmy Burke. That's where I became quite good friends with Matt the Devil Man, Berry, aka Voodoo. And it was back then it was all owned by Andre Baker before obviously he passed away.
Sure.
And John Ryan taught me the basics. He taught me lock-up, chain and stuff like that. And John was like to me he was like a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. You know, he was like tough, but you know, he was likable. You loved the guy. He was a lovable guy. Anyway, they moved the school from Chatham to Sittingbourne, I think it was.
Right.
I think it was Sittingbourne. Anyway, they moved the school, and I was 15 at the time, and I couldn't really follow with them because it was harder, and I think they changed the training schedule to a Wednesday. So I needed to find another school, and that's when I discovered John Ritchie and Dropkicks. And then I started training at Dropkicks in Purfleet. And to get there, I had to ride a bus to Bluewater, bus from Bluewater to Lakeside. And I used to jog from Lakeside to the venue.
Oh, God.
Training, jog back, take the 2 buses again, and then I'd do my swimming training in the evening.
Hang on a minute. You jogged from Lakeside towards Purfleet?
I did.
My God. You must have been knackered by the time you got there.
I used to stick my bag on my back and I'd jog all the way there.
Wow.
Then it would be the training. It was a pretty full-on day. I was always rewarded with a nice roast dinner at the end of it, so it was all good, you know.
Yeah. You'd have had to have had something, I tell you. That's a hell of a commitment.
Well, it just that's just how it was.
Yeah.
At that sort of point in time, like wrestling had sort of taken a dip, especially in the UK, and John Ritchie was there, and he gave me my first match. Which was against QT McFluff, aka the Richter Scale, and Sergeant and Anthony, and it was me and Barry Ryan as a tag team.
Right.
And we did that in Purfleet. It was an okay match, you know. We were still young, green, you know. But John gave me the opportunity to start doing matches, and while I was training there, I got to meet a very famous face, which was obviously Stu Bennett,
right? Because
he was an old star. And it always shocks me to see like toys of him in Smythe.
Yeah,
he's so famous now. It's crazy. There's a thing that I used to see him on a Sunday at training. Blows your mind sometimes. But I trained there for a number of years, and then when I went to university, I started training with PWA in Plymouth, and I did shows down there with Devon Wrestling and PWA, which was John Harding's bracket. And I came back from university back into Kent. I started back with drop kicks, but then after sort of that point, I really started to push my wrestling a bit more, and I started branching out and doing shows with other promotions like WrestleForce, Genesis, NEWW, and stuff like that. And yeah, that's pretty much how I got started. You know, just I knew what I wanted to do, and I just with it. You know, I had my goal to learn what I had to do to get my career going outside of wrestling, and then wrestling was sort of it was like my extracurricular activity in a way. You know, that was what I did as well, and I've always sort of kept a balance of home life, work, and wrestling as well.
I was going to say, like, when you're learning and you're training and you're growing up for it and then you're doing university, how difficult is it to keep, like, enough focus? Do you know what I mean? Like, was there ever a point where you was like, I'm going to, you know, I need to just focus on one thing, or was you able to manage it quite well?
There were times I sort of dipped in and out because it is hard to sort of keep up with it. And back then as well, the shows, they weren't as, because you didn't have Progress, you didn't.
We're talking about a completely different time here. We're talking about very few and far between. You know, you'd be lucky maybe if you had a monthly show, I guess.
Yeah, it was very different back then, and at points it did get a little bit daunting. You thought, well, is there any point? You know, you're killing yourself trying to get noticed, and you're not getting noticed. And so there were times where I just thought, you know, that can take a back seat while I focus on this. But no, I sort of stuck with it for as long as I could. And a lot of the guys that I wrestled with, some of them retired, some of them still wrestle now, but they've gone on, had families, you know, focused on other things. And I've always sort of kept it going. And then when I sort of pushed it further again, obviously nowadays there are more opportunities. Some of the newer lads as well, you know, I was a bit hesitant at first. I thought, you know, would I be able to mix with the new lads and be able to keep up with them? And yeah, my style is quite naughties, you know, it's very old school. But no, it's been good. Like, the new guys have been amazing, and obviously there's some other guys out there who have been in the wrestling a hell of a lot longer than I have, and they're still going. You know, like Damien and stuff like that. You know, those guys have been absolutely amazing. You know, just sort of keeping your spirits up as well. You know, so it is hard to maintain both, but you know, you just got to do what you love. You know, you only live once.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I mean, obviously, going back, you know, my first ever exposure to British wrestling, because I didn't even know there was such a thing